Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel for another video on Gran Turismo 7. We're back with a highlights video from the Manufacturers Championship that we just finished, the test season at Monza in Group 3. So this was the final point scoring round I actually got in the series. So we ended up with 3 rounds counted, and this was my 3rd point scoring round from this race. So I thought I'd do a highlights video on it. So yeah, if you do enjoy these videos, do hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, let me know in the comments how you got on in the test season. And yeah, we'll go through to the race now. So qualifying wasn't particularly amazing. I'm going to be honest. I was really getting frustrated in qualifying throughout the many races we had. I think we managed to get a P8 or a P9 in this lobby, with a pretty poor lap. Now, obviously, wind direction was playing a factor in some of the laps as well, depending on which way the wind was coming from. And in general, yeah, it was a bit tricky sometimes depending on where the wind was coming from. But we managed to get P8 in top split. Still a competitive lobby. We've got Mehdi in front of us. We've got Wind in the race. We've got quite a few different drivers. Agu in the race there, right at the front. And yeah, Sparks right behind me in the other McLaren. So let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can get some decent points and start this race now from P8. So starting away straight away, we're going to go straight into that slipstream of the Corvette in front of us. Giving the tyres a little bit of a warm-up before we go into turn 1 as well, just to get a bit of heat in them. You can see Mehdi doing it in the Corvette. We're going to do it a little bit in the McLaren as well. I don't think you need to do it as much as you used to have to do it on GT Sport. But yeah, it can't do it any harm to get a little bit of temperature into them tyres. Now, first thing to make sure was that we got a pretty solid lap in on lap 1. Because, again, as usual with this test season, there wasn't much in the way of strategy. As with daily races recently, the race was a bit, wasn't a fuel saver. It was just a flat out race from start to finish, which is probably a bit better than fuel saving sometimes, as you know, without strategy. I think hopefully the new season that's starting soon does look like it's got a little bit more strategy in the races, and the races have got reasonable distance in them. So I think there's 3 races in Nations and 3 races in the Manufacturer Championship, and they actually look like they're going to be quite entertaining because there's compulsory tyre usage. And yeah, I think it's going to be quite fun to see how them races play out. So looking forward to that new little test season. It's a very brief one. It's only on for a week or so, and I think it's 3 races in each, like I say. So we'll be doing that live on the channel. So make sure you subscribe if you're interested in looking into any of them races. So getting back onto this one, you can see opening lap now coming towards the end through the Ascari chicane. We've got a little bit of a penalty up front, and as we come through here, we're going to see there's some sort of incident. I'm not sure what's gone on there between Antonio and Wind, but 2 cars off and then another car off on the exit, and we managed to gain 3 positions in 1 corner. Now that is a lot of luck. I didn't expect that. So we're up into P5. You can see Mehdi's putting his hands on because I was giving him a flash to say I'm not going to fight him here because there's not really much point. That Corvette was a little bit faster on the straights than my McLaren. So I also know that Mehdi's quite fast anyway. So I decided we won't battle there because at this stage of the race, it's probably better to try and see if we can get Mehdi into the slipstream of P3 to see if we can bump ourselves forward as well. So yeah, you can see giving him the bump draft there. Again here you can see we're going to give him a bump up the rear there, boost him up forward a little bit, see if he can get closer to P3 and get into the slipstream. You never know, we might be able to hang on. Now, one thing I have struggled with a bit on this game is trying to really push when I'm in the slipstream, but we'll try and stay with Mehdi as long as we can. So you can see we still got Sparks behind us there in P6. And to be honest, if we finish this race in P5, it was actually going to be pretty alright points because this was still a top split race with, I think, towards 400 points for the win. So yeah, it's still very competitive. We brake a little bit late into the braking zone there. That means I have to brake quite aggressively towards the end and don't get the exit speed off the chicane that I would have liked. And you can see in our mirror there, Sparks getting very, very close to the rear of my McLaren with that little mistake we've just made. And it's also dropped me out of that really strong bit of slipstream from the Corvette. So I need to try and get back as close as I can to Mehdi on the straights and see if we can get a little bit closer to help our slipstream on them straights as well. As you can see, Sparks behind obviously fell a little bit off from the 2 Lesmo corners because in game you get a little bit of dirty air and you drop off in them type of corners. But now into the Ascari chicane and taking the curb as aggressively as we dared with the McLaren, and again over the curb on the left and onto the power onto the straight. And now we're just back into the slipstream zone. So we've got Sparks behind in the slipstream, we're behind Mehdi in the slipstream, and we're just all in a line at the moment, not really battling away. I think we're all thinking the same thing, see if we can just try and get ourselves up towards that podium battle. So into this final corner, staying in 3rd gear there, onto the power nice and early, and just again stay in behind Mehdi as much as we can. There's no point really going for an overtake here. We're a bit too far behind. You can see that the delta, it would have to be an absolute lunge if we were going to go for a move. So instead of wasting time, we're just going to stay to the left-hand side of the track and make sure he's aware that we're not going to go for any silly overtakes that are going to lose us both time or anything like that. So you can see there, Sparks had a little look up the inside, but there was enough room there and we braked late enough to not really be affected by that. However, on the exit, we get a really bad exit now. Sparks, I think, decides here, because he knows that I've still got the slipstream to the car in front, it's probably not worth going for an overtake because we would have just out-dragged him on the straight. So he gives us a bump draft to try and get us a little bit further in the slip. Now, I didn't take into account, with that little hit from behind, we're going a bit faster, and then we've got the slipstream to Mehdi, and we brake again a little bit too late. So a bit of a scruffy start to the race for me here. And now I stay because I run wide, I stayed to the left to let Sparks go up the inside. Unfortunately, Sparks has got a penalty on the entry into the chicane. So both of us having a bit of a messy start, and Mehdi now has broke away from that slipstream. So Mehdi's up there and in quite a good position in the Corvette. It's going to be hard for us, especially now that Sparks has got that penalty and we're having a bit of a scruffy start. You can see the lap times are way off. And one thing I will say is the lap times were really random on this one. There has to be something to do with track temperatures that affect lap times. They have added track temperatures into the start of the race now info, so that will give us some idea in the future. But yeah, the race before this, we were managing to get down into like 48 threes and 4s and 5s quite consistently. This one was a bit all over the place. It was really random, but yeah, we're going to go over the line here. You see, obviously in a pretty slow lap because obviously we made that mistake, and now Sparks behind us. I think he's going to give us a bump draft here now because obviously we both made mistakes, and he wants to see if we can get into the slipstream of Mehdi by working together. So we're going to try our best to work together, braking as late as we can, and we actually brake quite nicely here, get the car rotated into the apex, and we actually get on the throttle reasonably well. You can see there, second gear on the power nicely, and get quite a good exit this time. So that's what we should have done before, but unfortunately the lap before we just completely messed it up. So we're going to skip ahead now to lap 5. You can see a lap further on, and we're still ahead of Sparks, and we've actually got a pretty comfortable, well, a nice gap there. We got around about half a second, so we're not under massive threat. However, on the second Lesmo corner, we go a little bit too aggressive, trying to find a bit of pace, and we run wide, and we lose all that hard-earned time. We're going to have to let him back through there because there's no point fighting that. So we let him back through, tuck him behind him, and again, try and limit the amount of time loss that we get by that mistake. So now it was a case of just staying in the slipstream to Sparks for as long as possible, or maybe thinking about going for an overtake if we could get into the position to get an overtake. However, one thing I found really difficult when driving in the slipstream on the old tyre model was staying close on corner exit to the car in front. Now, I know there's a lot of controversy over the old and new tyre model, but I think hopefully they'll do some adjustment to get it a little bit more, in between what it was before and what it is now. Because, like I say, I do like the changes they made. I think they made positive changes to make it more drivable for more people, but I think they might have gone a little bit too far on the grip weight of, the physics. But that's for another time. Let's get back onto this now. You can see in P5. And we've also skipped ahead to lap 9. You can see there we've got a BMW right behind us. You can see it in the distance there. The BMW very, very, very fast. It's a Z4 and it's very, very fast on a straight line. So we're trying to stay as close as we can to Sparks. We've managed to stay with him for about 4 or 5 laps now in the slipstream since that little error. We've not had really any trouble in terms of losing the slip. We're able to stay with the McLaren a lot easier than what I was with the Corvette. So at the moment, we're not going to battle him too much, but if we can get into an overtaking position, we do need to consider it because we've got that Z4 right in our mirror, and I know how fast that car is on the straight line. So I really wanted to try and get away or overtake Sparks if possible, because then I've got a car behind me before that Z4 approaches, and if they start battling, we could get an advantage from it. So through the 2 Lesmo corners again, into the second part here now, and just trying to keep it nice and smooth. We made that mistake earlier on, trying to make sure we don't make that same mistake again, just making sure we use the curb with the left-hand tyre, but nothing more than that, and onto the straight. But you can see in the mirror just how fast that Z4 is. He's in the slipstream, and just look how fast he gained on the straights. That car is unbelievably fast on straight line speed when it's in the slipstream. So now into the chicane, which again, this should suit the McLaren a little bit more than Z4. Z4 does get a little bit of understeer. We're onto the power. You can see we gain a little bit of a tenth of a second there. However, as soon as we get onto the straight again, he's going to be flying up behind us in that Z4 with that straight line speed advantage. So yeah, into the final corner, we need to get a really, really good exit here, just so that we don't get pressured into the braking zone. You can see down to second gear for a bit of rotation, and then back up to third gear to try and get a smooth exit. You can see the car moving around a little bit, the McLaren, even though this is one of the most stable cars, starting to move around a little bit on the exit there as I got on the power while we're in that turbulent air from the car in front. So working our way down into turn 1. And again, we're too far away to really go for a lunge. So again, we're just going to sit in that slipstream, make sure we brake at the right point, and just concentrate on the exit speed rather than trying to, you know, put sparks under pressure there, because there's not really much point going for an overtake at that position. So again, I notice every time that Sparks was getting a much better exit off there. I do think he might have been going into a different gear. So we're going to skip ahead now to lap 10, and you can see the Z4 has got right up behind us. I made a little mistake on that lap. That's give the slipstream to the Z4, and you can see right there on the left hand side we've got a Golf in the barrier. It looks like, I think Agu must have had some sort of issue with his wheel or something where his wheel switched off, but that's lost him the position. So we're up to P4. However, we've gone back down to P5 because the Z4 is going to go for a move into turn 1. Now, we're not going to give this up. We're going to brake as late as we can in the McLaren, because the McLaren is very good on the brakes. Braking really, really late, side by side there. Take a nice apex, and we managed to hold onto that position. Now we've got to concentrate on the exit speed, because that BMW is going to try and go around the outside. Now, I stay to the right hand side because I know that going around the outside is obviously a little bit longer in distance, so it gives us the shortest line into the next corner, and we might be able to hold a little bit of an advantage into the braking zone. So you can see he's got the inside. We're going to have to brake extremely late here to hold this position, which we brake as late as possible, managed to get the car into the apex, and actually managed to take the chicane reasonably well. But you can see there, with that battling, we have just lost the slipstream to Sparks. We nearly managed to stay in it, even with the battling that we've just done, but unfortunately we have dropped out of the slipstream, and a little bit of an error on the first Lesmo there. Now we've just got to get this second part right, because that BMW is going to be right behind us going into the Ascari chicane. So using all the power that the McLaren's got, it's not the most powerful car, but it's not the slowest. But that Z4 has got a bit more grunt on the straights. You can see he's having a look on the inside there, but I think he decided to wait here and maybe go for it in a different point of the track. So again, through the Ascari chicane, taking as much speed as we can, and you can see there Sparks has got that gap pretty comfortable now up there, around 1.6 seconds. So he's looking pretty comfortable. As long as he doesn't make any mistakes, it's going to be very difficult for us to get back up into the podium position. But a P4 from where we started isn't a bad result if we can just hang on to this. So into the final corner again, that Z4 is looking so fast on the straights. Now what I think here, you can see that in P6 we have another driver there getting pretty close to the BMW. You can see that the BMW's got my slipstream, and what he does here, I think he gives us a little flash as we go defensive, because I think he wants to work with us to see if he can, you know, avoid getting that McLaren getting into his slipstream, and also to see if we can battle our way up into Sparks' slipstream that's in front of us. So that's what I think he's doing here. He's working quite tactical, and he wants to see if we can get up into the slipstream of P3 to fight for the podium. So you can see we get quite a good exit that time, and he's going to probably be a little bit too far behind us to go for a move. However, look at the power of this Z4. In that slipstream, he's actually going to be able to give us a bump draft here. He probably could have gone for an overtake, but he knows there's a car right behind him. So I think instead of battling, he's playing the longer game here of trying to stay ahead of the other McLaren behind him. Now we get quite a good chicane there and quite a good exit as well, and we give ourselves a nice little bit of a gap there, which is needed because these two corners are that are quite suited to the McLaren. So again, that's going to give us another 10th on the first part of the Lesmo. Now onto the second part, and let's see if that can give us another 10th of a second. You see Sparks up ahead, around 1.7 seconds ahead still, and we're on lap 12 or 16, so only a few more laps to go in this race. But this is definitely getting a little bit more tense towards the end now, obviously with just a few laps to go, and we're fighting for P4, which is going to be pretty good points available if we can hold on to P4. We managed to go through that sector with a personal best, so pretty solid through the first two sectors on the Delta. You can see we actually pretty much matched Sparks in front of us on this lap so far, and then into the final corner with that little second gear rotation as we fast forward there for just to rotate the car through, and we go through with a personal best lap of the race. So not a bad lap on that one, got the pace a little bit better there. And now into the braking zone again. You can see we've now got longer behind us. He's managed to get himself ahead of that BMW. Now that might be better for me because I know that BMW is faster on the straights. Now the McLaren does tend to, it will obviously be faster in a slipstream than my car because we're in the same car. However, it might not be able to get into an overtaking position as easily as with the Z4 could because of the dirty air obviously through the corner. So now we're just trying to concentrate, push as much as we can, see if we can keep him behind us and just try and hold on to this P4 position. So you can see we've got the gap around half a second, 6/10 of a second, and we're just trying to hook up these corners. We're actually keeping that gap pretty stable to Sparks at around 1.7 seconds. You can see again, it's staying around the same type of distance. I can't seem to catch him up, even though we did pretty good lap on the previous lap. Unfortunately, as we skip ahead to lap 16, you can see that longer, and the BMW, they started battling, they faded off. We kept the gap pretty much, you can see 1.7 seconds to Sparks, and yeah, at this point, there was no point pushing through the Ascari chicane, so I didn't want to make any mistakes, so we just take it nice and easy through here. We were actually on a personal best lap there. We were driving pretty well towards the end of the race, so just taking it nice and smooth through there. Didn't want to crash. You can see going very slow through there. But this should be a nice solid P4. We've not made any big errors in this race. Just that one little error out the second Lesmo that dropped us behind Sparks again, but then he obviously got the penalty, I think, anyway. So yeah, it was people making mistakes. Everyone made a few mistakes, but overall pretty happy. We're starting from P8 and we're finishing in P4, so pretty good result as we go over the line there. Sparks takes a final podium position, I take P4, and the BMW manages to get himself back up into P5 behind us. So some pretty good points as well. As we take a look on the end screen here, you can see we managed to come away with 351 points, which was quite nice. That was my third lowest scoring round, which is the last points that we take for the season. So it was a pretty good job there at Monza in the McLaren. So yeah, if you did enjoy the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you for more live streams and videos in the future. Thanks again for watching, everyone.